eventually get a regular queue for it. But there are a ton of people that will just random a champ and not like the champ and just disconnect. You know,
dodge.
yeah, it's really annoying, especially when you get a champion. Like I got Rumble the other day, and I'd never really played Rumble, and I was kind of like excited to play him, and then of course, you know, someone on the other team leaves, and I re-roll and get like Viger for the 1000th time.
I know you always seem to. I was gonna say you always seem to get really good champions when you play any of those random maps. All the time. I don't think I've seen you have a bad champion that you don't know what you're playing with yet.
Well, that's because I'm excellent with every champion.
Oh, but, of course.
Yeah, no, I seem to get champions I don't play. Like I'm the worst AP. Like a mid AP champ. I have no champs that are viable. Maybe Vladimir and Scion. That's about it. And so I'll get, you know, like the other day I played about 3 or 4 all random, all mid games on the Proving Grounds, and I got like Morgana, Anivia. It was just a horror show. I got Noriana, and it was awful. I think I got like 6 kills, but I had like 45 assists. I just couldn't get any kills.
45 assists, because that's awful.
Well, I mean, you know, people on my team had, you know, way more than that. But we had a Mundo on my team that just he was he was the only one on our team that was tanky, and he just was like a scaredy cat. He just would not engage anything. It was so annoying. Just like, go, attack.
Press your R, just stand in there.
Yeah, I'm like shielding him and stuff. Like, come on, just go. But he just wouldn't. And he was building weird. I mean, that's another thing too. Is I found a lot of people just go like full on troll builds in, you know, and those like. We had a game where we had all APs except for we had the Teemo, and of course the guy goes AP Teemo, so we had like literally no AD, you know, other than auto attacks. So it was just like trolling. But
by the way, let me just say, you know how you kill your your want to actually play ARAMs is you have Nasus twice. That will make you not want to play ARAMs at all. Fucking Nasus. Excuse my language, but God.
I've gotten Veigar like 3 times or 4 times, and he's kind of like the same. I mean, a little more functionality because his stun is useful, but it's the same kind of thing. You just never get to build up your Q.
I like Veigar and ARAMs because of his E, because of his
gauge. Yeah, his stun is good. Like he's not as bad as Nasus for sure, but it's just you know, kind of not as fun.
I think people underestimate all the melee champions in ARAMs. We have to do just get barrier, get ghost. You know, get to a point. No one's getting a lot of farm, and eventually you'll be, you know, naturally tanky. Get a Trinity Force, get some armor. A lot of people aren't expecting armor and magic resistance, and they actually run through the enemy team pretty good. So I think those champions are underappreciated because, you know, there's not an incredible amount of kiting. Like, for whatever reason, people are, like, eventually just stand there and fight you, and the melee champions obviously do really well at that. But the one thing that's great about Proving Grounds is that I feel like it's the Diablo 3 killer. Like, all my friends went to play Diablo 3 and, like, were missing in action for, like, months, and now they're all back to play ARAMs all the time. Like, I don't know what it is about the game. It is a fun mode. I play quite a few of them, way too many of them. You know, actually, you know, you're playing way too many ARAMs when, like, in 3 consecutive days, you suddenly can't win any more RP or IP while you're playing ARAMs. I'm like, oh, sorry guys, I can't play with you because I'm not going to play and not win IP. Like, that seems a little bit silly.
Right.
But then I get dragged into one anyway. So all my friends who did go to Diablo 3, you know, have been back and they've been playing almost exclusively the Proving Grounds because, you know, another great thing is we actually have, you know, a core group of people that play together, and we're normally more than 5, but not, you know, 10. And even if you are 10, you don't really want to run in-houses 5v5. But when you can just load into ARAMs, you know, there's extra people. It's not really a bad thing. You know, just get people to fill in wherever. So. Has anyone
tried playing like a draft version yet? Like I haven't, but
I have.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Draft, the way that we saw the draft running was either you run an all poke comp or you run an all silence comp, pretty much. And I mean, there's not that many characters that can silence, but you have characters that like Lulu that can polymorph, or you know, Castanet can silence. Of course, Soraka can silence. We're in a Lulu that can polymorph. I can't remember the 5th one that we picked at that point in time, but We ended
Garen.
up... Yeah, Garen. Garen's your tank. Garen's actually pretty much a hellion in that mode because he just can build tanky so quickly. And you can't stop him in his ultimate. It just does a lot of damage. But, yeah, the all-draft ones, there's actually some semblance of skill in that mode. I mean, there's skill in all of them, but you have to actually pick your champions right. And Jayce is one of the bans if you're playing an all draft, all mid, because his poke is just so epic. He's way better than Nidalee when it comes to poke. Like we said earlier, he can build whatever he wants. It still does a ton of damage, and he stands in the back with his acceleration gate and his Q, and he's popping you for like half your life at level 6. In that game where your items are 2 or 3 times better than would it be in a normal game.
Yeah. The other thing that's great about the mode is if you're like not very comfortable in team fighting in regular games, and I feel like people can play like a couple of hundred games, and even be like I played thousands of games, and sometimes I'll still get a little bit confused in team fights. Oh, who should I be? Shielding, who should I be attacking? Well, you kind of get everything more frequently in that game mode because it's a constant 5-on-5, and you get to try out new champions if you're doing the random mode as opposed to draft. So I think it's a great new addition. Of course, the issue is, like Darryl Oslander said earlier, a lot of people will dodge out, but that's not actually unique to just the proving grounds now. People are dodging out of ranked games at alarming frequency. It's taking me forever to get into games because people just like dodge, and then in the end you're like so desperate to get into a game you're like, okay, I don't care about our team comp. I'm going with it regardless.
I watched Guardsman Bob earlier today for a brief 30 minutes, and he was getting into a game, and what did they pick? It was like Evelynn, Mordekaiser's support, just the most random characters that you could pick. And Nautilus. Nautilus had to Ignite. Nautilus didn't even have Smite in his game that he was in. And he says to the stream or to his everyone that watching him, we're going to play some Q-Dodge Chicken. And he's sitting there. I could see his hands. He moved his hands in front of the keyboard where you could see it was all on Alt and F4, and he was waiting, and it came down to 1 second, and then Summoner 1 disconnected from the game.
Yeah.
And he goes, what? Summoner 1? Why would they Q-Dodge when it's obvious that we don't have a very good team?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make sense a lot of times. Like, I feel people are being nice when they Q-Dodge, like, before the picks have come down. But then there's a lot of people that'll, pick that Eve Twitch combination, and I think that's a pretty good segue into what we're going to talk about soon.
Yes.
But they'll pick that combination and just force someone to dodge, and it's kind of weird that sometimes people on the other team will dodge just because they don't want to deal with people just playing all funky like with those invisible champions.
30 minutes is a long time to wait, especially when you're at 2200. I've seen some of those queues can last a while, even after the 30 minutes.
Yep.
What is the new punishment, by the way? I missed that. Like, that was on vacation when that happened. Like, what happens when you do you still lose Elo when you dodge? I don't think you do.
No, it's
anymore,
30
right?
minutes, like you were saying. 30 minutes, and then the next one I've heard is an hour, but I've also heard it's 2 hours. It's probably an hour. I've never dodged twice in a day, so I don't know.
Dodge for 30 minutes. Oh,
So
okay.
there's a challenge for you tomorrow.
Yeah, how many can you dodge, Sotere?
I might dodge a lot because I was talking about this before the show went up. It's like I have a couple people that I always want to dodge, and then every time I convince myself, no, they're going to play good this game, I'm not going to dodge them, they do absolutely terribly. So they never reinforce me in a positive manner where I'm like, okay, I should not dodge these people. So now I think I am going to be more liberal with the dodge. The problem is 30 minutes for a dodge. There's so many people with Smurfs that they just like, okay, well, I'm going to go play a game on my Smurf.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
So
I bet the increase in Smurfs comes around now is the fact that because of 30 minutes, people will start having a second account and be like, okay, well, I'll go play the second account.
They should just ban your IP for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They need to do something a little more drastic because it's actually ridiculous. Like when you're already having to wait, 10 minutes for a queue, and then suddenly you have to wait for like 5 of them because of the dodges.
And it's got to be the worst too, because draft pick takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is, and then you have to wait, and then you have to wait for it to happen again after somebody's already dodged. It's dumb.
Right.
And
they
there's
dodge at the last possible second, like you just saw.
and there's skill in drafting too. I mean, it's not. It's not just something that is even necessarily on both teams, and that's kind of unfair. You punish a team that maybe drafts better than another.
Right.
They just get out of jail free.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, that's always why I was like, oh, well, you can't allow people to dodge without an ELO loss because everyone will just start dodging when they think they've been out-comped. But on the other side of the coin, like, it's normally just the captain that's making all these calls, and they're not actually getting insight from other people, and they're not asking for insight. So if they, like, royally mess up the picks and bans, then maybe you should have that out.
First pick cat.
First pick cat every time. Just ask Tristan. That's all he wants to do. First pick cat. We've got about 20 minutes left in this podcast, and I still want to get to a couple of the other things we got here. So, as Sotere was talking about earlier, the good segue here would be going to the new Twitch and the new Evelynn. We did not add Jinzhao to the document as well. And I guess he's another one that's getting a remake. So 3 good remakes coming this patch on top of a new champion, Thorn Bitch Lady. That's when we have it in the document. What is her official name?
Zyra. I think they just made her that name because it's ZY it starts with. They just never want to have a champion that comes after her on the list.
Or that starts with a Q.
Starts with 2 Z's or something.
Wow, yeah, three champions to talk about right now. Which one do we want to talk about first?
Let's go with Evelynn first.
Go for it.
I think the one thing about Evelynn is from seeing the rework, and I'll lean on Offlander's history on this because he knows more than I do of her history. But the one thing that I did see and when you see Freak's video of her rework, he always wants to put her in the jungle now with what seems to be it's hard to describe, but I like the aspects of where she's going to be in that we knew she needed buffs across the board. We knew she needed damage. We knew she needed some kind of kit that would allow her to be played skillfully, yet would allow her to also be effective early and mid-game. She would never have enough damage for that. She was kind of a, what do I want to call this? Realistically, it was a domination pick, is what she came down to, and then a placeholder otherwise. So when I looked and watched the video, I was like, oh, okay, so I could see her playing in the jungle because her ganks will be solid, because she can, make positions even better than you would normally recognize, and I like that aspect of it in that that's one place I could see it work, but I don't see it actually working in lane. So maybe they just want her to be a jungler. I'm not really sure. That's the gist I was getting out of it when I saw the remake. It looks like it's more damage. It looks like it's actually decent skill shots. I like the.
It's not even a skill shot. The new hate spike it prefers the target that you last auto attacked. So if you auto attack target, you can just spam it and it will hit them. From what I can tell.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant. I didn't. And skill shot was the wrong word to use. But I like the fact that it's okay. You pick a target, and now we're gonna, have it that you're gonna continue doing it, and then I can see her working through the jungle that way because the damage stays. You can line up the creeps the way you want to do that. But I'm still not convinced that she's gonna be anything viable yet because even the damage that I saw in the videos, which is almost like pre-made, wasn't that great. Like it felt like you're gonna still need help from teammates to actually make her viable, and then I don't really know. And you know how viable she won't be in late game because she won't be stealth or she'll be detected or somebody will have, oracles on. Right. It's not going to be anything where you can go late game with her. She's got a snowball early, so she feels like maybe a Shaco who's not viable anymore either. So that's how I see it.
Well, Oracles doesn't really help you against her because you can detect her if she's when you play with her. There's like a circle around you, and anyone outside of that range can't see you, and anyone inside of it can. So Oracles doesn't change anything. I mean, the only thing really that I think she could be good, and I think initially she'll be good. It's going to force people to pink ward a lot more because wards are basically useless against her now because she'll be able to get into like say the bottom brush or camp tri brush, and unless it's pink warded you'll have no idea she's there unless you either go into the brush or or she pops out. So
that's the same thing with Twitch as it is now, and Evelynn really, and Shaco. Unless you have a ward in the middle of the lane, you have to react. You have to react to it when she's there. You can't react when she's walking through the brush. Just like they are now, you have to assume they're coming. Like I just played against a Shaco not 30 minutes ago. I guess 45 minutes ago now. That I spent, I spot 3-4 vision wards in mid lane because the Shaco kept coming in mid lane, and I'd see him before he got there, but I had to react to just see him, and I had to always be aware that he was going to walk into that ward range, which isn't very long. And Evelynn's going to be pretty much the same way. The stealth allows you to get there quicker because you have that little extra range between the bush and where you're in the lane that you're not going to see her come in.
The one thing I'll say about that is, and this is something we've seen in pro games, and usually it trickles down. The effects of it will trickle down eventually. But the one thing in pro games is you're starting to ward the brush either next to your race or next to their race, and advancing, putting a ward there, and then backing back out, or further, like I've seen it actually, ward like red buff, if you know that most of the team is going to be a blue buff type of thing. That vision, she's likely not to be stealth because she, going between camps every time. So that's one thing like you're looking for, or she starts doing the Wraith camp, you're going to be able to see her come out of it. That's another thing that, you're looking for vision of approximately where she might go or what she might do. That's something that's kind of going to make her unviable, in my opinion, at least in the pro scene. That's the way I feel, but I'll take Sotere's opinion on it, really.
It's going to be tough to make her viable and not overpowered. That's how she's always been. Like, everyone thought she was unviable back in Season 1, and then a couple people were like, oh, we're going to get to rank 1 solo queue playing with her over on the EU side, and everyone realized, oh, if you suddenly bring a stun to any sort of lane, they should be able to, follow up on that and kill that person in the lane. So there were a lot of, abusive combinations with that, and it's going to be hard, to change that. And I think I picked up on the same thing you did, Hornet, where we were watching those, we were watching the spotlight, and it didn't look like she was doing a ton of damage. It didn't look like she was doing like enough damage to really instantly burst someone down. And actually, for all of Evelynn's weaknesses throughout time, when she had that stun, after she got Trinity Force with that stun, she was actually able to take down squishy targets on her own really, really quickly.
I do remember that.
So, there's kind of, a point, especially with melee champions, where they just need to have a large amount of burst damage to be viable. Because if you don't, then you get disengaged, you get kited, and then you don't get anything done because you're really only going to have a couple seconds to, auto-attack someone. A lot of items I feel are kind of like traps because you don't auto-attack people a lot in teamfights unless you attack the attack damage carry.
Right.
Like all the melee bruisers, you go in, you like spam all your spells. You're not like, just wailing away at anyone by any means. So that's where I think, she'll either be made or broken based on how much burst she potentially has once she does close that gap on people. And I don't think it's going to be enough because I don't think Riot really wants to see her in that position where it's just really unfun to play against her again.
I agree with you. I don't think they actually want to put her in the pro scene. I feel like they want to keep her as kind of a, make her just viable enough that she can be used in regular games, but don't make her, where she's actually something that can be picked and used, because I think you're right. I don't think they'll ever find the right balance with her, given stealth's ability and what, it could do potentially if you have enough damage with her. There's no way, I don't know that there's going to be a way that they can ever balance it that way.
Yeah, and I think that's the same issue with Twitch. It's like he's actually not, incredibly unviable as an AD carry. He has like nice steroids for an AD carry. He has a little bit short range, but actually compared to the AD carries of today, it's not as short. I actually want to kind of look that up before I wax poetic about how short or long his range is. But he's not terrible. You can put him in bot lane and not have him roam, and if he gets that Infinity Edge and that Phantom Dancer, he can be beastly. We actually used to see Dan Din playing him in that position as not a roamer, but actually just an AD carry like spot, and he outtrades a lot of people too because of Expunge. So I don't know exactly. They said they're going to shorten his ambush time and make it so he can't just like roam around the map invisible and all that sort of stuff. So perhaps that will make him more viable as an AD carry. And yeah, he has that 500 range, which is like Teemo, like Jayce, and just a tiny bit shorter than Graves. So, you know,
Well-
we've now found that Graves can be viable with 525 range.
Right.
Sorry, had fun?
No, you're fine. You're fine. The Grave's definitely viable. With his passive allows him to be very viable as well because he gets a lot of magic resistant armor with that. So having 525 range, you're giving up that extra range to have that passive where you're tanky, so you can take some extra damage. But with Twitch, and I think the reason we haven't seen Varus as well, they don't have any kind of steroid or any kind of way to get out. We had talked about it earlier in the podcast where top lane, where, for example, Teemo has a 500 range, but he has a W and a blind to get out of any sticky situations that he may get in. Now, he's not guaranteed to get out of it, but it's going to more than likely get him out. Now, Varus, for example, all he has to get out is an ultimate, and he has to blow that defensively to stun them, and it's only a quick second stun. And he has an E which slows people down, and that's not. And he has to blow a flash. Now, if they come back down there and all those are blown, that's a free kill on a Varus. You know, assuming everything is put up correctly. Now, same thing with Twitch. The only thing Twitch can do is go invisible, and you're hoping that the invis, you know, hits before that you're blown up or have a dot on you or ignite or anything.
I mean, Twitch is actually, you know, in his current incarnation, a very viable top lane. We've seen Rinson do it. We've seen a couple other high elo people do it. You know, obviously no one's picking him competitively, but he actually has good damage to trade, and that invisibility is, you know, underappreciated in being able to get away from ganks, because if you're top lane, you see them coming in, you run into the brush, you know, and just hit Q immediately as you see someone run into the brush, you'll be invisible before they get there. And so unless they're running an Oracle already or bringing a pink ward along, you will get away. And you also have a really long, you know, I think 1200 range, you know, decent slow with his W, debilitating. I think is it debilitating poison?
His new poison is like, they said it's like a Heimerdinger grenade, where it's a very slow to get where you're going. You have to put it where you want it to go, and it doesn't target anybody. It's an area of effect spell, and it's very slow to get there, so you have to hope that you hit it at this point, or be very good at understanding the range and understanding the speed of the spell, so that it's different in the fact that you can slow before someone gets to you, because before you had to hit them with an auto attack, then you could W, and it would turn it into a slow. Now you have to hope that you hit the area of effect ability.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the slow before was really great. I'm interested in playing him again. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, and I kind of like to reserve my opinion until I've seen a lot of people play it, and then I get to play it, of course. But I am excited to play him again because he's one of the more amusing champions. You know, the sound effects and all that sort of stuff. I've always enjoyed his playstyle, and I think a lot of people enjoy that invisible playstyle, but where do you draw the line between like allowing them to enjoy it because they're enjoying it because they're, you know, picking up kills that, you know, they shouldn't be, or that are, you know, really easy to pick up? And
invisibility has always been in any game you play. Any competitive online multiplayer game, invisibility. I'm gonna go back to like World of Warcraft. People bitched about rogues because they could go invisible. And how do you balance invisibility when other characters don't have it? And it's very, very hard to do. And it never got completely balanced. Now, I'm still gonna stick on the World of Warcraft thing here. I played since vanilla all the way up until, you know, whatever the latest expansion was the last time I played it, Cataclysm. The rogues throughout the entire time were always viable because of the invisibility. Now it's the same thing with Twitch and Evelynn. Getting back here, as long as they have invisibility, they're going to have a little bit of viability in the fact that they can still walk around the map and not be seen, and they force other players to buy items to be able to see them. But when you start reworking them a little bit, they get a little bit more viable in the fact that they can be played. Now, in a competitive scene where wards are more prevalent and everything, I don't think you'll see any Evelynn or Twitch. However, in ranked solo queue, we see a lot of Twitch because he has the invisibility, he can get a couple early kills, he can roam. And he has a better kit for late game than a Shaco does, or an Evelynn does, for example. So that's why we're still seeing Twitch now. And with this new rework Twitch, we'll probably still see him as much as we do, but it's going to have just a little bit higher of a skill cap because of his W, in my opinion, because his W, again, is like the Heimerdinger grenade, where it takes a little bit of time to get to the area that you want to go.
Yeah, actually, I just tried it real quick, and it reminded me quite a bit of like Urgot's, I think it's a Z, the Noxian Corrosive Charge. So it sort of targets like that. So yeah, I guess it'll be sort of like hitting an Urgot E.
Yeah, so you have to know where the person is going. Well, Urgot, of course, is getting banned all the time because of how much damage he can do and how tanky he can get. Now, Twitch, I don't see Twitch getting that tanky or anything, but as Sotere said earlier, if it's like an Urgot E, he could be viable in the bottom lane at that point. because you hit somebody and now you're slowing them and you're able to do the damage, and Q, you're out of it. So, talking through this has actually made me think maybe we could see him a little bit more, maybe not competitively, but you never know. I mean, Rayman brought out Jayce, and we didn't think we'd see him right away.
Put him on the ggC ranked 5 team.
All right, Sotere.
Oh, I will definitely play him. I'm all playing him right now. I mean, he's definitely viable bottom lane. I've stomped quite a few people with him, and just kind of throwing out unusual tanky builds. Kassadin, very viable. I played a couple Rams against him. At some point, like, he can just rift walk so many times, it's still doing like 1,000 damage. And you're like, what? All he has is Frozen Heart, Tear Goddess, like, and other tanky items. So annoying. So annoying.
He rift walk in, he's got a slow build. He rift walks in, so he's got an instant flash, he's got a slow, and he's got a silence. So I could definitely see him being worked in that sense. He could become a tank in a ARAM because of that.
Well, the thing is, he still has incredible base damage because the rift walk stack and do 100 more damage, I believe, every single time you do an extra one within a given amount of time. So that's what makes him able to not even like build damage and still do a lot of damage. Anyways, that's way off the beaten path, and we still have a couple of topics to talk about that are kind of interesting. I don't know if you want to jump over to them.
Yeah,
or not.
We'll talk about the new champion and the Xin Zhao remake next week, because more than likely they'll be out at that point. We'll be able to play them and really talk about it. We can only theory craft so much with all these new champions, so. Really, we've got a few minutes left in this podcast, and I still want to run down the ggClassic tournament. That was this last weekend. We ran it on Saturday and Sunday. There were pools of teams, and the teams each team played each team. It was a round robin style tournament, and we had 4 teams two teams out of each advance, and I believe it was Curse, CLG Black, MTWNA, and Team Dynamic.
You got it. Yep.
Okay. Yep. I was always confused on the very last one that advanced out of that. So, but we saw some really good play out of CLG Black this week and MTWNA.
Mm-hmm.
I was so impressed, and I was very
and Team Dynamic.
And yes, absolutely, and Team Dynamic. I mean, each of the teams that advanced, great play out of them all. I was so underwhelmed and so disappointed at TPAs. How well they played or how poorly they played.
They were so slow. Well, now hold on. No, and by the way, Ponophobia and I actually casted the first 3 TPA games. Type A Assassins, and the one thing I want to say is that we noticed immediately that if they invaded jungle, which MTWNA did, and
they played Orb.
No, it wasn't Orbit. It was Fornot. When
yes.
MTWNA and Fornot both invaded their jungle and prevented Little Balls from getting any kind of real farm, it's like they just folded, because the rest of the lanes, the one thing I didn't realize, they seem really aggressive when you see them in the Green League, but the real truth is that they really actually like to be passive farmers. And then they like Little Balls to actually make the plays for them for the good ganks. They almost like lull you to sleep as it is. Just keep the lane as it is, and then let Little Balls make plays. Well, both times they denied blue to Little Balls, who's their jungler, and invaded and got a kill each time, if I remember correctly, as well. And it just wrecked him from then on. It was pretty bad.
It wasn't only blue, too. Smithy walked in there with his jungle Broloff, and he took the red. They stopped him from getting. They stopped Little Balls from getting blue early. They made Little Balls not get blue until like 2 minutes and 50 seconds or 2 minutes and 30 seconds, something crazy late. And they walked in and took his red buff and his race. And for those who don't know, Type-based Assassin's jungler, as we've been talking about, his name is Little Balls, and that just devastated him in there. And he had to spend the entire game jungling. He could not.
Yeah, the only way that he was ever going to catch up is if he was actually able to take over a lane and farm, which he never got to do, and it just destroyed him. I was disappointed to see, how it turned out. But then you realize, because then the third game that we did was Type A Assassins versus Orbit, and Orbit did not invade them at all. And Low Balls played a Moo, and then you saw Low Balls all over the map.
Yeah.
He was making great plays all over the place. His ultimate was timed well on at least 4 different occasions. His bandage toss was on point. I mean, there were so many ganks that he made the plays, and it's almost like the team just kind of feeds off of him. I was surprised by that because I really expected like more roaming to happen because once they knew that low balls was going to be behind, then you figure, okay, maybe mid will start roaming and making plays, for them to go with the counter ganks and things like that. Even when he tried to counter gank, I remember when he played Nocturne, I think the second game against Fornot, he wasn't effective at all. He was behind in level, probably 1 or 2 levels, and then it just snowballed from there where he could ult in, but then his damage wasn't enough, even after a fear proc, and they just mowed him down.
And I believe that Nocturne games where Toys was playing Mordekaiser. Because I can remember a gank in bottom lane where I remember saying, oh, this might actually turn around for the Taipei Assassins because they came out with an even trade because Nocturne came in with his ult, which made it so I can't remember who was the second. Fornot was the second game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fornot was the second game.
And that was the Karthus game as well.
Yes.
But Karthus ended up being such a terror because when Karthus dies, he's still doing damage. And when Karthus dies, he's still doing his ultimate, which he's able to clean up and mop up. So everything they tried to do to stop Fornot or stop MTWNA did not work because the other lanes got fed because little balls could not be a presence on the map.
Yep. Now, Sotere, did you do I don't know if you got to observe the games.
I only got to watch parts of the Taipei Assassins games. I would check over there when I was not streaming, but of course also parts of the time when I wasn't streaming I was trying to grab a quick bite to eat. So I didn't get to watch too many of them, but I would tune over there and I would see, oh, they're really far behind. And check that out. There's always been a big hype amongst the GG Chronicle staff about Taipei Assassins, but I played with some of them in Season 1, and I played with them in Season 2. I'm not incredibly, I'm not astounded by their play, so I was always like, oh, I don't know about this. We've heard from CLG, oh, they're really great. But, it's hard to, take anything away from it. They're playing with, 140, I don't know
they
how much
were about 140
but,
ping, was they
yeah,
were
140. So they were about 140 ping, which is the same as CLG Prime, but they did play poorly in those first initial games, but MTWNA, for one, was really playing well. I did not see the Fornot game, but Fornot played surprisingly well throughout the tournament, and Taipei Assassins at least came out and were 3-2 in the end. Of course, it wasn't a real 3-2 because the CLG Prime forfeited that game, right?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so CLG Prime was really the team that kind of came out and did terribly. They lost 3 games and then they didn't do anything else.
I will also give them credit. They came back and won 2 games, and one of them was the only defeat to CLG Black that they suffered. So, do give them credit. They actually did come back and they played much better. But the other thing was I don't think CLG Black invaded their jungle either. And it was almost like it was a snowball effect each time that it happened. Now, I don't know if that's always going to be the case, but it just is. It's an observation that we've already seen, so it's kind of interesting to see.
I think it is the case, and actually, I casted the Fornot versus CLG Prime game, which was the first game for CLG Prime, and they invaded and they just got to the jungle so much faster than CLG did. And they picked up an early kill, and they were just able to take control from there. I think Hotshot was like 0-7, 0-8, and One Bad Brad on Lee Sin was like 8-0, or started 8-0, then ended up like 8-1 or 8-2. So obviously, a lot of people were kind of viewing Fornot as the underdog of that group. Certainly, even though they play second in our original ggClassic, they've mainly been revamped, and they haven't been performing terribly well in recent tournaments. But I think that early invasion is so key, and a lot of the American teams, if they don't invade, they also don't defend. CLG, for instance, they always set up that European defense where they have one person at every single entrance, and if you have someone standing there, they're generally not going to get caught and killed outright, and they'll see people coming into the jungle, so they can decide to go away from that. And invasions on their own are great; they actually give you an advantage regardless, but it's really when they invade and they get a kill that you get set really, really far behind.
Yep.
And I think a lot of TSM's success has been they've been invading more than almost every other team. And I often felt like, oh, they're actually picking a level 1 team that they can go in and invade with. So this is something like everyone's going to have to worry about. Everyone's going to have to defend against because it really does steamroll games. If you don't get that blue or you're red the first way through as a jungler, you were so incredibly far behind. And we saw Team Dynamic, who I also kind of want to bring up because they played incredibly in the Group A stage, and they kept on bringing out MF Nunu, And in the first game I saw them, they actually, we actually had Zion Spartan top lane, and all he was doing was showing himself around blue, so they did it a little bit slower. And then MF and Nunu stole red buff, which was huge for them in lane. They essentially zoned the opposition out for the first 4 levels, got like 20, 25 CS ahead. And of course, Nunu MF is a really strong lane anyway. When you add red buff to that, there's absolutely no combating them really. So there's that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Team Dynamic? And I think this is right. I think Team Dynamic actually set up in the tri-brush outside of blue buff. I think they were on blue side. They set up outside of blue buff's tri-brush for the other side, and got 2 kills on CLG EU in the very early beginning because they sat there and waited, and Crepo and Yellow Pete came down to come to lane.
Yes.
And they got the early 2 kills, and I think that actually snowballed again because I think it's another point of it. That snowballed to their win, if I remember.
That was actually Legion against them in one of the really early games. Yeah, that's, and they were just incredibly patient. And that's actually, I guess, the only way you can work an invade against the CLG EU team, because they always set up that same defense where they're watching every avenue. But, they just waited long enough for them to go back into their jungle, sat in that, bush, which, of course, you can run around. You're actually only wasting, a second, maybe 2 seconds if you run around the safer way. But they just figured, they're going to come straight through here. They did go straight through there. They picked up those early kills and really stomped that game as well. And Crepo mentioned, we actually just got outplayed in that game entirely. So that was Legion, also with an invasion that really worked out well and, essentially won them the game. I mean, all these things can be overcome, but especially when you get on this level where everyone is farming, generally equally, and everyone's going to take advantage of that, those first blood, kills and that money that they get. If they have an advantage over their lane opposition, they're going to use that. That's how close the skill level is now. And I think that's an issue with the ping. 140 ping's not that much, but when everyone's really close in skill, then it is apparent. Of course, those invasions do just give, they give leads that, the regular player or even high elo solo queue player could give away, but these professional or, semi-professional players are not going to give them away.
Right.
Some crazy, awesome plays and very good play out of all the teams, most of the teams, I would have to say. I know we had just got done bashing Taipei a little bit there, but just about every team played fairly well this entire weekend, and we'll see 4 of those teams play this next weekend. Of course, that is starting on Saturday, July 21st and July 22nd. There'll be best of 3 games between, I don't think we have the schedule up yet, though. Do we know who's playing who?
I was going to say Team Dynamic is going to play MTWNA, I believe, and then Curse is going to play CLG Black. I believe those are going to be the first setup matchups, if I'm not mistaken, because the number 1 in Group A is Team Dynamic, and the 2 is MTWNA in Group B. So I believe that's how it's going to match up in the beginning. It's also double elimination, so even if you lose a best of 3 early, you're still got a shot. And we're going to have some great games this weekend. I honestly cannot wait. I also want to point out that Rainman subbed in for MTWNA. That's when we saw the Jayce play.
Right.
And Atlanta subbed in for Team Dynamic, and he made some awesome plays. He also brought Shyvana back, in my opinion. Hadn't seen Shyvana in a competitive scene in a little while. I really liked what I saw out of both teams, and we saw some veterans now join some of these teams, and it feels like it might have given them a little bit of a boost because I think they ended up playing a lot better because of it.
They've all been very good picks. So you guys need to tune in over at own.tv/ggChronicles starting on July 21st. I don't know if we're starting at 11 a.m. again like we did last weekend. We'll have the schedule up very shortly. If not tomorrow, we'll have it up on Thursday. What time teams will we play?
Probably going to be Friday, actually.
You think so?
The full schedule is actually going to be Friday, yes.
Okay. I haven't been too heavy into that as I've been busy getting our new website prepared and put out for you masses. So if you guys want to go over to ggchronicle.com, you'll see that we have a brand new website. Across the top, of course, we have all the information about the tournament. We have contests up there from our sponsors, Arcade, thearcade.com. That's with a Q, not a C, so ARQADE. They are actually giving away a new graphics card and $25 in RP to a number of people. If you go onto their website this weekend, you ask a question. You can do it right now. Ask a question, and you get 5 upvotes. You make an answer, get 5 upvotes. You automatically be entered into the contest to win yourself a new graphics card. So please go out there. You'll see it on the stream this weekend. We actually got confirmation from Own that we will have the link on the stream the entire weekend, so you guys can click it right off of the stream that is going. So Own is very much helping us out with that. So please go check out the new GG Chronicle website. We've put a lot of time into it. We're completely... we reworked it completely across the top. There's a featured articles, there's a featured videos. Those are always updated. Below that,
when we say we're saying ponophobia, by the way, and also feel free to complain about the website because everybody else seems to be finding something to complain about too. So, and then ponophobia can throw his arms up, and be like, "What the fuck?"
So Tyr won't leave me alone about the box code. I didn't import over the code for the box that he likes to use. So yeah, just put your hand out there. But
everyone used it beforehand. Like I was just copying Monty's format. That's what everyone did. So I just want to keep doing it. I'm not asking for a lot. I mean, I actually.
You're not asking for a lot.
You've ignored all my other requests about a stream page
and
stuff like that.
No, I have not.
All I want is the same functionality that I had before. Oh, that's all.
So Tyr, you'll be happy to know that I have a stream page in the works. It's on our dev site right now.
I am excited about that. You will get 1,000 more hits per day from me. I just randomly open up and who's streaming right now? Are there any tournaments that I don't know that are going on that I can watch?
Yes.
While I'm waiting these 50 minutes for my queue.
I have been working on a stream page. I've been working on a tournament page. The calendar is up and working on the front page, and that's updated every night.
By the way, if you ever want to know calendars that are up, that is one thing that is on our page, and it is fantastic.
Yes, if you want to know a tournament that is being played, go check out ggchronicle.com. Right on the front page, there is a calendar, and you can click right through it. There's hyperlinks in it and everything, and that'll be changed a little bit in the future to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. For right now, it is what it is, but it's still there. Scene News will be updating Scene News. Articles will be coming out. Also, I really want to give this shout out because I'm so excited for it. On Thursday night, we'll be doing an interview here on own.tv/GG Chronicle. We'll be introducing Sheen Procs, which is the Trinity Force Presents Sheen Procs. It's a new 30 to 45 minute show. It's quick, rapid fire questions to the person that we're interviewing. I'm not going to give away who we're doing it for yet because I know you guys are just so excited, but it'll be somebody from CLG Black. So if you can just, maybe try to figure out who we might be interviewing from there, but we will be interviewing from someone from CLG Black, and we will be getting questions out there, and this will be
somebody who had
series.
A prominent role in our tournament.
Absolutely.
ggClassic this past weekend. I will say
Absolutely. That. We will still be doing interviews on Trinity Force Podcast, of course. We had the Odd One interview. If you didn't listen to that, go listen to it. He warmed up to us. He played the horse the next day. We were so excited for it. We will still be doing interviews here. But Sheen Procs, we wanted to originally put out 2 interviews for you per week, but we have so much crammed in. It'll be an interview per week we'll have with some kind of pro player if we can get it done. And we're going to put it out there 30 to 45 minutes. So again, Trinity Force presents Sheen Procs. Of course, Hornet and Sotere are both on a new show. I'm going to give one of you guys to just pimp the hell out of League Nation, please.
Go ahead, Sotere. I want to hear your version.
New show. I thought you were talking about Meta Musings.
Well, do it. Tell everybody everything about all our shows.
Mention that as well, actually.
Yeah, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. So same time as this, Zero Cardinality and myself will be doing Meta Musings. We talk about kind of unusual strategies and ways to change the metagame. So certainly tune into that. But Hornet and I are both involved in. He is actually the host of League Nation, which we have been doing every Monday night at around 6 p.m. Eastern. Is that right, Hornet?
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, yeah.
Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern, sorry, yes. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
California, he doesn't even know what time it is right now. For the rest of us.
We have Comely, Curse Pluto over there, some other guys that I don't know the name of, probably Monte Cristo and Hornet, and we just have a good time. So it's kind of a very lighthearted, somewhat abrasive, somewhat racy.
Somewhat abrasive. You guys played Marry, Fuck, Kill, and you guys played Rule 34 last week. I don't even want to hear somewhat abrasive.
Yeah.
More than somewhat abrasive and somewhat racy, but it's awesome. It's a lot of fun to be part of, and I hope it's a lot of fun to watch. I don't know. I don't watch it. Actually, I watch it right when I'm doing it, but besides that,
I have a great way of summing it up. If you want a show that goes there, we go there.
Yeah.
League Nation, we go there. You think it? Yeah, we actually say it. So
that's right.
You know, be sure if you want something a little bit more, a little bit on the
edgy side.
Edgy side, yes.
You're like a razor. We are right on the cutting edge.
We have cut ourselves, by the way, as well while we've been doing this. So.
Monty's trying to keep himself cut so he can watch himself.
Not
in the
literally,
monitor.
but yes.
Oh, well.
Not wearing.
Yeah, not wearing shirts. I want to roll just to end this podcast this week really quickly. Guys, thank you so much for rating us on iTunes. We love it. We're going to have Sotere on more frequently. Absolutely. Sotere has been a fantastic addition to this podcast. So thank you so much for being on. Optimus Tom, Scumbag Tom, for whatever reason, doesn't like to show up. So
what?
We'll be doing maybe some line swapping here shortly.
That's right.
Watch out, Optimus Tom. I'm coming for all you.
That's right. No.
All positions.
Guys, you have rated us on iTunes, and I want to read a couple of the new reviews that come out because these have been fantastic. The AFK podcast, they have like 3,000 followers on Twitter that are fantastic video game podcasts, much like the rest of them. Like if you want to listen about like Mass Effect or any of the Steam sales and stuff that goes on, please go listen to the AFK podcast. But they got us a whole bunch of new followers this week, and some of those people have written. They did have wrote reviews for us, and this one right here is from Berserker14.
It's written. You're right the first time.
It is written.
I thought it was.
With it.
Oh fuck it! I don't care.
Think long, think wrong.
The best kind of podcast, rated 5 of 5 stars. He goes, a few months ago, I went searching for an LOL podcast that knew what it was talking about, but was still funny, entertaining, and balanced the two easily. I found it in Triforce, and as long as they make episodes, I'll be here to listen to them. Keep what you do, guys. Yeah. Come on, our egos are exploding right now. And the last one here from Pure Funked. Great podcast. I love how this show has a mix of players from all elos and roles. They are always up on current topics and always bring relevant information along with gut-busting humor. So, guys.
Gut-busting. Wow. Nice. That might be overstating a little bit.
I've literally never heard anything funny on this podcast. In 37 episodes. Never once laughed.
No, not you.
I laugh all the time, but I'm very easily amused.
Yeah.
So that probably plays into it.
Sotere streaming earlier.
I did get a tweet from Tristan, and if he had a cat, he would have kicked it 3 times over already. So I'm just letting you know.
For whatever reason, I can't say wrote and written or whatever the hell the actual.
That's awful. You're just awful.
This is bad.
I have not been talking for a while, and I need to go back and look in the mirror and do my Sivir Soraka Sona.
No, just do your Monte Cristo impression. Look at yourself and talk to yourself, and you can pump yourself up a little bit. There you go. See? There you go.
Well, no, Monte Cristo is. This is Monte Cristo. Just sit back.
You gotta roll your sleeves up first, all the way.
Yeah, roll my sleeves up all the way right there, and like touch your biceps.
Yourself a little bit. Yeah. And then the beer was in your hand, so yeah, you're doing
it's always it's the beer right here too, like this, and
there you go.
You guys are right, and then it sits back. And I got the Monte Cristo freshened down. Guys, check
all those euphemisms on League Nation that Monte Cristo does, and you will see the exact same thing we just mentioned.
I'm going to yell at Komali next time, or Kamali, whatever the hell it is, stand up for standing there. He doesn't have a mic in his hand. He's like standing way back here. You guys can't even hear me right now, but he's standing way back here and fucking talking. And I can't stand it. There's just little things about that. But that's what makes League Nation so great. Anyway, guys, I want someone to take us out. Auslander, I think that's your duty, right?
Yep. Okay, you can give us a call at 203-494. That's 203-493-6723. You can text us at that number as well. Or you can email us at feedback@Trinity Force Podcast. So, Pugsy Bub and Yannick, we didn't get to your emails this week, but we will get to them next week, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Or you can follow us on Twitter, T-Force Podcast or ggChronicle.
That's right. Guys, check us out, own.tv/ggChronicle, ggchronicle.com. There's so many different ways you can get to us. If you guys want to ask us a question, we will eventually get to it. We were off last week, and we just had so much stuff to talk about. And as you can see, we're only an hour podcast. We don't want to go over, because if we go over, we don't have anything to talk about. So
yeah, then we leave ourselves with like 30 minutes of content on like another night. So yeah.
And I get drunk and talk about daiquiris. I mean, that's what happens if we don't have any content. So guys, that'll do it for this week's Trinity Force podcast. Please check us out this weekend. We will see you next week.